Hey guys, welcome back to Honey in the Rock. I'm Sophie and this is Reagan. Um, the countdown was making me think of the countdown before camp would start. And it would be like 20 minutes and we have to dance for 20 minutes and then finally it's like 1 minute and you're like, praise the Lord, my legs can't dance anymore. By 8:30 in the morning, all of my move ring goals on my Apple Watch were closed.
Me too.
Thank you. What can I say? Just an athlete or something. Um, well, sorry, we just hopped right in there. If you guys are listening, Reagan and we went to camp together. Um, and first impression of her was like, oh, she's hilarious. She was making me laugh like so hard. I just remember we were sitting at this like booth and I was literally peeing my pants because she was so funny. But then as I got to know her more, I saw her heart for the Lord, and just letting him use things, and she just was like so deep and personable. And she loves really well. And so she was more than just like the funny person. She really just was like, she loves deeply. And so it has been a joy to be her friend, and I miss hugging her actually terribly bad. So, thanks for coming on and being willing to share your story. Um, I've heard most of it, and so I'm excited for them to hear and to see how the Lord has used your life and your story for his kingdom. So, thanks for coming on.
I'm so excited.
Um, she lives in Florida, right?
Yes,
So, you're a little beach girl.
I am. I just went to the beach yesterday.
Your cheeks are like perfectly sun-kissed red.
Oh, thank you.
I've just been laying out at the pool and then I'm just like actually dripping sweat. And I'm like, how did we do this all summer in the heat?
It was really hot yesterday. It was like 97 degrees, UV of 11.
How's the UV higher than 10? I didn't know that was possible.
I
You know?
honestly, I always thought it was out of 10 until it started going to 11. So,
You're like, so it's just really hot. Well, you wanted, well, actually, she's Reagan Dynamites because we had two Reagans on the team. Students couldn't know our last names, so she was Reagan Dynamite.
Sophie Wildcats.
Rawr. I'm sorry, I hate that.
Oh, I actually have to go let my dog in. It's perfect
Okay, go
time.
let your dog in. I don't know what just happened.
What was that?
I don't know. Um, okay. I don't know what just happened, but Reagan's dog is back in the house. Uh, and I just literally thought of him. My first, and then we'll get started on this for real. People think we're crazy. My first memory of you is you telling me the story about how you got attacked by a dog. And I'm not laughing because I'm not saying it's funny that you got attacked by a dog, but that's my first memory of you. You were
I
like, do you
love
want to know
to
I was attacked
overshare.
by a dog?
Yeah,
And I was
I was like, yeah, I just got a puppy. You don't know why? Because I just got attacked by a dog.
I was like, oh, okay. And that's when I knew we were gonna be friends. The dark humor, we could like relate on the dark humor.
I just love to
Okay.
overshare.
I know. I mean, might as well. Okay, sweet. Do you want to share your testimony? You can start wherever.
I would love to. So I'll start from the beginning.
Yeah.
I was raised in a household of people who were not believers. My mom and dad definitely do not believe. My dad he likes to say that sometimes he believes, but it's kind of hard to see throughout things he does. And the fact that he just really is against going to church. And my mom is like, it's very open and very honest about the fact that she's not a believer. And I never went to church when I was younger. Um, I don't think I didn't start going to church until my friend invited me when I was in like ninth grade.
Mm,
And through that, even through the first time that I went, I learned what having a supportive community around me looks like. And so I started going to church more often. And every time I'd come home, my mom would be like, why do you even want to be around those people? Like, Stop.
It's okay. Your little doggy.
She would be like, why do you even want to be around those people? Like, they're trying to teach you things that aren't real. And
Mm,
one thing that she would say a lot is that I was in a cult. She would say, um, you know, you and these people who are only trying to brainwash you. But really, it was like the best thing that ever happened to me because I got to have these people who I step foot in the church and they're immediately like, we love you and we're here for you. And that's something that I never really heard.
right.
So that was something super crazy. But I wasn't actually saved until I went to my first year at Fuge Camps
Mm,
and I was going into ninth grade and I still remember the song, The Moment Everything, during worship. It was Oh Come to the Altar was playing, and that song still has just such a deep meaning to me.
yeah.
And I kind of, that's when it clicked that, Jesus is real and he loves me and he wants to
Gosh.
be in my life and he wants to just have me in there and
Mm,
so much that he would die for me. And I thought at the moment,
right.
who could ever want to do that?
Mm,
Like I know that at the time I was like, I wouldn't die for anyone. So why would he die for someone he doesn't know and someone who doesn't believe in him?
mm, gosh.
Yeah, so that was crazy. And I felt a really strong call to ministry last year. Um, when it was end of July, I had come home from Fuge camps and my brother was in an accident where he was in like a medically induced coma and he woke up from that. And I just remember thanking the Lord because that was just such a scary time. And the one thing that I was thinking about was that I never shared the word with him, is that he could have gone, passed away, and he would have never known about Jesus. And that's just something I wouldn't be able to live with. And
Right.
so God really just gave us a second chance and an opportunity for me to share the word with him. And then the week after he came home, we went to church together, and it was
Mm,
just so amazing. Everyone in my church was so supportive, and they prayed for him that everything will be okay. And he's doing
yeah.
so much better now.
Yeah.
And so that's just something I thank the Lord for.
Yeah.
Um,
That's so beautiful.
I'm like, I don't really know where to go after that.
Yeah. Well, I think is like growing up in a lost home, um, is like, did you find that like you were searching for satisfaction in other ways?
Oh, for sure. I got into hanging out with the wrong crowds, and
Mm,
so I started vaping, and that was like ninth grade, and I didn't end up stopping until senior year.
mm,
And so um, it's still like something that I definitely like. I always want to do it, but it's like I know why I shouldn't, and
right.
so that's that's just been something that I struggled with. I also, I was drinking a lot, partying,
Yeah.
um, cursing, just
Yeah.
doing things that I wasn't supposed to do.
Mm,
And I didn't think anything was wrong with it because I was never taught different.
right.
So I was never like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this because my parents were never like, oh, these are things you shouldn't do.
Right.
You know
Right.
how like Christian families and parents, they'll tell their kids right from wrong. And it was kind of like, there is no wrong, just do whatever you feel like. It was a lot of that in my family's just do whatever you feel like. And still that's very much still a thing, is that
Yeah.
just do whatever you feel like.
Yeah.
So everyone has their own kind of things going on.
Right. Of course.
And it's not really like caring for other people, it's just caring about yourself.
Right. Well, it's like when we're not living for something greater than, because we're like selfish natured, all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when we're not living for something greater, then we're just living to like please ourselves. So whatever that looks like is what we're chasing after. So it's like, okay, well, if vaping pleases myself for a little bit, then I'm going to do that. Or doing this with my boyfriend is going to please myself for a little bit, then I'm going to do that. Like if we're just chasing whatever feels good, we're going to be chasing and chasing and chasing because none of those things actually like satisfy us how Jesus did. And I think it's sweet like that you spoke about like this like unconditional love. because if you come from a broken home or not a broken home, none of us know exactly what this unconditional love feels like because we're surrounded by people who are broken because we're also broken. But then like sitting at the feet of Jesus and seeing like his unconditional love is like actually mind-boggling to me. And you said it like how why would a God die for me and he doesn't even know me. And it's just like that is the good news of the gospel. Like that's his character. That's how kind he is. And then it's also like he knows us, I don't know him. So I want to get to know the person who was willing to die for me. And I think that's so cool.
Yeah, and one thing I definitely struggled a lot with was coming into Christianity. I was thinking, wow, these people look like they have such perfect lives. Like
Mhm.
the second I become a Christian, I'm gonna be happier and this is all gonna everything's gonna fall into place, which is true. I am happier now. And
Right,
that's definitely it's evident in things that I do. But
right,
I was expecting different things than what were actually true. And so I remember reading the Bible saying where God promises that, it's going to be hard being a Christian, but also promises that um, you'll have support in that.
right.
So that was really comforting during that time
Yeah,
um, of thinking like, I see all these perfect people
mm,
around me, like,
right,
oh wow, and they go to church every Sunday and they do this and they do that.
mm,
Oh, but that could never be me. Um,
right.
And you know what? Now, like after this summer, students would look up to me and say, I want to be like you one day. And I'm like, no, you don't. Um, but it's
Bye.
so sweet seeing them look up to me like I looked up to those people thinking they're perfect, knowing that they look up to me knowing I'm not perfect. So,
Right,
um, and knowing I will never be perfect.
right,
Um,
right.
so
It reminds me of Romans 8, where it talks about the suffering that we see now does not compare to the glory that will be revealed to us in heaven. And so often, when we think following Jesus looks like having this perfect life, or all of our problems are going to be solved, or all of our temptations are just going to go away, or our family lives are going to all of a sudden be perfect, or our future is going to be planned out perfectly, like all of these things we just think are going to be fixed automatically once we decide to surrender our lives to Jesus, but that's not what he promises. He does promise to be near to us in those times, and he also promises the gift of heaven that we can cling on to. But I think that is just like so real because how often we are like, okay, I'm following Jesus. Why is my life still hard? And it's like, because life is hard and we live in a broken world, but we have a hope that's bigger than ourselves and we don't have to live selfishly anymore. Um, because that's not where this joy is found. That's not where our satisfaction is found. Um, and you probably like experience that of like living for self and doing things like, okay, well, if I go to this party and do this, and these people are going to think I'm cool or this, and you just like keep striving. And it's this never ending cycle of striving to be something that we're not. And then it's like, I don't have to keep pretending. Like, I don't have to keep trying to be somebody that I'm not. I don't have to keep trying to earn these people's approval. I don't have to keep trying to numb this pain. I don't have to keep trying to fix my broken family. Instead, it's like, I'm just going to sit at the feet of Jesus and open the word and love people well and serve people around me well so they can see the character of Jesus in me. And I think that's really like evident in your life because like I know you after Jesus changed your life. Um and it's evident in the way that you would serve and love. Um that like Jesus is in your heart. And so I think it's sweet to now hear the parts of your story where um you were chasing and chasing and chasing and striving and like obviously we still all like struggle with that time to time. But it's sweet to see like you learn that's not what works.
yeah,
Um, and like the generational like curses like can be broken like just because something happened in a family or what's happened before doesn't mean it has to happen again because Jesus can redeem and restore those parts of your story. And it's just like evident that the Lord has done that. Like just because your parents might not go to church or just because your parents don't love the Lord doesn't mean you can't, you know.
my dog is snoring so loud right
He's a tired guy.
now. He's a
um
twin.
Okay, so you said your brother got in an accident. Um, what was that like?
So, it was actually the day that I came back from camp. I came back from camp. It was like 5 p.m. I had just gotten home. Um, and then it's like 3 hours later, I got a call and I was like, do I answer it? Do I not? So I ended up not answering it. I let them leave a voicemail. And then like 2 hours later, I look back at the voicemail and it's like, hey, this is your brother's friend's mom. If you could call me back, I think something happened. And I was like, oh, let me just call back just to be sure. So I called back and she was like, hey, like I'm not sure if you know already, but your brother's been in an accident. Um, and he's at this hospital like 45 minutes away. And I was like, oh, I didn't know, but why'd you call me instead of my parents? So I had to go out in the living room and say, hey guys, you might want to get in the car and go to this hospital because he was in an accident.
Right,
And so that was just really hard. I kept myself together until I waited for them to leave, and that's where like all the emotions came out, and I was like, I know like we didn't get along the greatest, but like this is really this thing sucks, you
yeah,
know?
still your
And
brother.
so I called my youth pastor's wife. I've been super, super close with her for forever. You know, I babysit their child, and she's just like a mom to me. And so I called her and I was like, hey, I don't know what to do. Like, I need you to come over. And she came over and just hugged me and like prayed over the situation. And just that was so comforting knowing that I had something like that because I knew that I wouldn't be able to talk to, um, my mom about this situation.
Right,
So, she doesn't really open up about her emotions like that. So I knew that this was not something that I was going to be able to talk about. And so, it was just really scary. And I had to go to sleep that night not knowing, like, maybe he was alive, maybe he wasn't, because we
right,
knew that someone had passed away, but we didn't know who it was. So it was a really, really scary situation. And so the next morning, I woke up and I got to go see him, and he had, tubes down his throat and like wires coming out, and just he was like in this like medically induced coma. So it was really scary just to see. And I immediately broke down and I was like, this is just so sad. And since it
gosh,
was the ICU, like he had neighbors who were like going through similar things, and it's just such a sad thing to see happen. And I remember just breaking down and just praying like God, please, like he's too young for this. Like this isn't fair, blah blah blah. And I was just so upset about it. And so I remember asking everybody from my church for prayers, and having a last minute they ended up having a last minute like little um prayer thing, worship
right,
night, where like 30 people showed up to this person's house and they all just prayed over him. And I couldn't even be there for half of it. I just showed up at the end, and like it was crazy just to see like these people who didn't even know him that stepped up and were prayer warriors for him, because
yeah,
it meant so much, because the next day, he got to wake up and start taking a few steps, and like nothing major was wrong with him, and that's just such a blessing.
right, yeah,
Because it was a devastating car accident. So like the fact that he's still alive is just such a miracle, and that's
mhm,
just to show like God was really not done with him yet. Um, and like I was asking like questions, and I was like, why would this happen? And then um I got to see the way God was moving through that situation. My mom was reaching out asking for prayer, which was something that was so, so, so out of the ordinary. And my brother woke up and said that he wanted to go to church with me,
mhm,
because if he's still alive, then something bigger must be watching over him. And I just like immediately was like thanking the Lord. I was like, this is so amazing. Like I couldn't have asked for a better
mhm,
outcome to this situation.
yeah,
And so, no, I was really devastated at the moment, but after I was just like, I understand why it had to happen.
right. Well, and like again, the Lord works all things for good for those who love him and are called according to his purposes. And so like he's using that in your life, a tragedy, to grow you closer to God, but for other people to also experience God. And I think it's heartbreaking sometimes that tragedy has to wake people up, but sometimes God uses tragedy like that to wake people up and wake your brother up and be like, "Hey, look." Or people are just like realize all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, we've never prayed before." Like it's not helpful to say I'm sending good vibes. Like what does that do? And so sometimes in like times of tragedy, people are like more willing to see who Jesus is because they know they need something bigger than themselves to help. And so that's sweet that the Lord used that and that he saved your brother in that way because he wasn't done with him yet. And he's now using you to love on him and be a light to your family. And I know that's not always easy. And um, it's hard when like temptation is all around, but I'm really proud of the way that you just stand firm in who Jesus is and keep going back to the cross because um, I'm sure that can't be easy. And so I just think it is a testament of who Jesus is and his unconditional love for us because it's like transformed your life. And that's really sweet. Um, and just like going to the cross broken is one of my favorite things about your story of like, it wasn't like, okay, I stopped vaping, then I went to the cross. Or I got this cleaned up and then I went to the cross. Or I fixed this part and this part of this part of my life and then I went to the cross. Like it's like, no, we go to the cross broken. At camp I sat across from a younger middle school girl and she was sharing all of these struggles that she had and her family life was hard and the sins that she struggled with were hard and she was like, well, I tried to do it my own way. I tried and I tried and I tried, and I realized it didn't work. And I was like, yeah, so we all do that. Like I tried to do it my own way. I could tell my everyone here has tried their own way, and she's like, but I realized it didn't work, and so I'm ready to go back to Jesus. And it was just really sweet of like she was like, do I need to stop doing this and stop doing this? I gotta stop this first. And I was like, well, first we're gonna fix the heart problem. Like first we're gonna go to Jesus and then everything else, you're going to grow in the likeness of his son. And that looks like honoring your body. And that looks like having a pure tongue of how you speak. And your actions are going to line up in obedience to God's word more and more as you love him more. But we're not going to stop all these things. First, you're going to go to the cross. Like, first, you're going to get rescued and cleaned up in the most important way. You're going to get washed by the blood of Jesus because that's what he did for you on the cross. Um, and I just think that's like really kind of the Lord. Because if I had to get cleaned up and fix all of my problems before I went to Jesus, then I still wouldn't know Jesus because I would still be trying to clean up my life. Um, and I think it's just sweet that the Lord lets us go to Him broken, and then He sanctifies us and makes us look more like His Son as we get there. So,
For sure. And I'm glad I got to have so many good conversations this summer because of, you know, growing up and stuff like that. I'd always ask, why does it have to be me? Why did this happen? Like, why does it have to be me instead of this person? Why does this person get to live such a good life and I don't? But then having these conversations this summer just made me realize that someone had to relate to these people
yeah.
and, you know, God knew that I could handle it. And so I was able to relate to what these students were going through on a more personal level.
Yeah.
And like if they had, a little more rough home life, I was able to talk to them about that, things they could do, um, ways they could cope with certain things. And so that just really put into perspective why things happen.
Right. And like when we can't handle it, God carries us. So then it's like on the days where you probably couldn't handle anything else, all the horrible things that you had to see or go through. And then the Lord was like, yeah, here I am. And then how we restored that and getting to love other people this summer. Um, I like felt like I experienced that too of just like grief and depression and anxiety and then being like, why did I walk through all that, Lord? And then getting to sit across from a younger girl or a younger boy and get to tell them that the Lord is going to hold them fast and that it's going to be okay because of what Jesus did on the cross. It was like, that's why. Like I had to walk through this, so now I get to love her in this. Um, and so that's sweet that you got to experience that too. and just like how the Lord lets us use our stories and our brokenness to glorify Him and then love other people well in that. So that's
I've
sweet.
never like gotten to share my story as much as I did this summer, which was honestly great because, on one hand I got to feel like seen and heard.
Right,
And then also like the students that were going through the same thing. You never realize how many people are going through the exact same thing you are until you talk about it. And
right,
so I got to hear a lot of people going through the same thing that I always thought that I was going through alone.
right.
And it was just really eye-opening
Yeah,
the whole summer.
gosh, that's so good. Well, thanks for sharing your story on here. Um, I know the Lord uses our obedience and our yes in mighty ways, and so I appreciate you. And it was so fun and so sweet to serve with you this summer. I wish I could serve with you, and I wish we weren't 9 hours away from each other.
Honestly, let's just do a little trip,
Okay,
a little meetup.
meet in the middle. Well, I love you. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime. And thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you next week. Bye.